Tonight, in a 4-3 vote, the Oshkosh Common Council authorized purchase of several properties commonly known as City Center. The 17-acre site will cost the city $12.5 million. A purchase, the city says, would allow the riverfront property to be redeveloped to create more housing and retail options downtown. Under the plan, the city would acquire all existing leases. However, some of those leases extend beyond 2028 and have long-term tenant options that could restrict construction timelines should the city be unable to relocate those residents. Before the vote, two speakers took to the podium, including Oshkosh resident Tony Palmieri, who voiced his concerns over whether it would impact property taxes for area homeowners.
I think everyone agrees that the $12.5 million is probably the tip of the iceberg, that there are many more costs coming with this, especially for potential cleanup of the site. We still don't really know where the money is coming from.
I think, I'm worried about the city taking on significant liability. The mayor mentioned 30 million potentially. I think it could be more than that, perhaps double.
The city's mayor voting no to the proposal, echoing those concerns, saying the city has no long-term plan nor a framework for how it would impact taxpayers. Even though the council has voted to approve the purchase, the agreement is still under what is called a due diligence period through September 30th, with the chance to extend it if more time is needed.